If you don't stay down and you never quit, come on over here and sit on the far end of the bench.
It's something that you don't take for granted once you experience it, but the silence sometimes can be beautiful. Hopefully you're not enjoying the silence right now, because you're listening to this show, episode 244 of the Far End of the Bench podcast. I had one of those days today where I was driving home in my truck. There was no music on. There was not listening to anything. It's quiet, riding down the road, riding up the highway. Jimmy Pilato, Nico Bryant here, and we have a bunch to get into, but Nico, we saw each other over the weekend, so that was nice, and now we got a big weekend coming up, so it's big things coming now.
Yeah, I mean, Saturday, which if you didn't see the video, was one of the greatest spectacles you'll ever see. Jimmy, unfortunately, came in last place in our fantasy football league and had to run a mile in a suit, is all I'll say. If you haven't seen the video, I'm sure Jimmy will tag it below, and everybody can go check all that. But all I'll say is you did a hell of a job.
I outdid what I was expecting as well. I was like I said at the beginning of the video, I was like, I'm just hoping not to get hurt.
You're smart. You paced yourself. You don't go balls to the wall and try to you pace yourself, especially in shoes, like dress shoes and
those dress shoes were clutch. Can we talk about? I actually have them right here. The zero grand, something like that. It was like, I don't know. I don't know if anybody else believes in manifestations, but it was like a time where I was trying to get a job. I was going shopping for the interview. I grabbed those shoes because I was like, oh, these look pretty nice. Didn't look at like the price tag or anything when I walked up there, and I was already at the counter. He's like, okay, $175. I was like, oh, I guess these are my new favorite shoes. They came in clutch. They were pretty comfortable. My feet were not killing me. My lungs, I sat in my truck for like another 15 minutes after you left because it felt like I was choking on shards of glass. Like every inhale was like, I'm going to die.
To be able to do that in the heat with the full suit on, I think that made it probably the next worst part on top of the shoes. But like I said, you pushed through and doing it the way you did, you killed it.
I'm going to see if I can get the picture pulled up on the screen. But no, I thought that it was – I couldn't be too mad at it. I wasn't mad at what ended up happening. I'll throw this up there on the screen. This is a mixture of what I was actually wearing and then also a little bit of AI because I sometimes you need to improvise, and I'm not as good as Nico is at making my own pictures. But there you can see. You can go check out our social medias. It's on TikTok. It's on YouTube. Full video of me. Well, not full video. Nico did not chase me. He made that very clear at the beginning of the video. I'm not following him.
I'm not following you. The last lap, I followed you for some of it.
And that was also so you could carry the group chat around and be like, oh, run, fatty, run.
They were cheering you on.
I was thinking, obviously I'm the last one, so I was thinking I was going to get a whole bunch of shit. I was pleasantly surprised. Everybody was like, no, that was really good. I'm glad I didn't have to do that. I was like, oh, cool. That's great. You didn't have to do it.
Like I said, everyone was just happy they didn't have to do it, and seeing you do it, I think that's going to be the punishment going forward for the rest of the time. So, like I said, you killed it so much. You killed it so much that now it's just a mainstay in our group. So, unfortunately, you did too good.
And my last thing about that, I did get a nice dap up. So we talked about the guy that was also working on the track. He was doing a sprint workout by the time I was running my mile. Nico was like, "Wow, you finished that in 10 minutes." He's like, he came over, he gave me knuckles. Like, that was pretty good. I know. I haven't ran since college.
It's 90 degrees out here. Also, I'm dying out here. I'm full sweat.
I'd love to keep talking to you, but I can't drink water.
I was sweating just sitting there watching you in 90-degree weather, let alone full suit.
Thank God I chose 10 a.m. because then I also we played Saturday night. So I texted my coaches afterwards. I was like, you say you're amped up for the game. I just ran a mile in 10 minutes. I think I'm pretty amped up for the game. Oh, yeah, and it was in a suit. They're like, oh, I'll have oxygen on standby. I was like, no, really? Like, I'm good. My hammies tightened up really nice. I had some concrete in my legs, but I had like 5 hours. So I took like 3 hours of 2.5 hours of a nap because I was dead. Like the sun, the moving. I walk quite a bit. I don't run, like I said. Boomer and I would walk. I should have brought Boomer. Boomer might have paced me to go a little bit faster, but it was nice, and I'm hoping I'm not doing that again. Like I said on I think it was like lap 3. I don't know. They all started to blur together. My vision was blurry, and I started seeing spots. You said, "How are you feeling?" I was like, "I'm just thinking of the karma I'm building because last year I drafted McCaffrey and it didn't go well. Why are you asking me these questions as I'm running?"
The post-game press conference was electric, is all I'll say. It was great. I'm a horrible interviewer, but you did a great job explaining everything as you were. If you've ever seen the Jimmy Fallon skit where him and Blake Griffin go through the what it feels like a post-game press conference after working out a full game, it's basically what it was. Where Blake Griffin basically makes Jimmy Fallon run in place for a minute and then starts asking him rapid fire questions. That's what I did to Jimmy right after you finished. I was like, "It's time to go, buddy. Let's figure it out."
And he's across the finish line. How do you feel? I'm okay. I'm okay.
Alive.
I'm still breathing. I didn't stop, did I?
To make you feel any better, every single one of us would have been the exact same way. I would have been dying in the heat, in the suit, the shoes. Like, you're in a lot better shape than you were too. Yeah. And like all of us would have been lucky to get 10 minutes.
If this was when the show started, because every now and then those videos will pop up on my recommended on YouTube because I'm subscribed, which everybody should, because then all the old videos will pop up. I'm like, damn, the neck and the gut on the guy that started this show. I was also 40 pounds heavier than I am right now. So I don't think I would have made a mile without. I probably would have been walking a majority of that mile if I was still 275. But no, I'm in better shape. And I noticed, I guess I misspoke on the video. The last time I ran was when we were playing rec basketball. Yes, and that was when I realized everybody in this league is in the same boat. No wonder we're all fighting so hard. No wonder Jonah tried to swindle me on like 5 guys. I should have traded him Christian McCaffrey when he asked. I should have. I held on to it too long. Tried to play poker and I lost. Nobody cares about our fantasy team except for us when we get into fantasy football. Our draft's coming up. Commissioner, remind me when our draft is. I did put it in my calendar.
Tuesday night, 7 o'clock. Don't worry. We'll have a top 5 next week what comes up to fantasy football because we're getting close to the regular season and you have to throw something in there. So don't worry. We'll have something.
We'll have to talk about whether or not top 5s continue. I like top 5s for when there's no football, but when we have games to talk about, it might be a little bit too much. So we'll have to figure out.
It may have to negate the pick'em. We'll talk about that slowly. But top 5s.
I have some ideas for the pick'em that we can kind of change it this year. So that I was thinking instead of picking all the same games, so where we have to pick opposite of each other, we each get to choose like 3 or 4, and if we win, we win. If we lose, we lose. But that way, like we could both have pretty bad weeks instead of one guy being super happy, one guy being super sad. True. Maybe the Broncos and Bengals both lost, but hey, we went 3 for 4.
True. Also,
it could still be a positive weekend, and then we can also add in like it's hard to count 100 and I think 5 games for 17 weeks. Tom can do the math as he's listening to that, but I don't think we need to do that again. No, we'll get to all of that because NFL season is rapidly approaching. College football season is here. We'll talk about that as we're getting going. But Nico has a lot of other stuff on his mind. He's going to be heading out to Minneapolis. As you're listening to this,
green is on.
Yeah, I left my hat in the car because it's my practice hat. I rep you guys at practice. I rep the Woods at practice because it's gritty. It's hard work. My boys, I not to toot my own horn, but I have some offensive linemen at the middle school level that I think could play at the freshman level as 13-year-olds. But I'm out there, and it's a huge weekend. Whip Snakes and Water Dogs will be the first game of this weekend. Chaos and the Redwoods. Redwoods are the higher seed. Chaos were able to get that last spot in the playoffs. They kept the Archers, who were the 2-time defending champions, out of the playoffs this season. And whoever wins in the East will take on New York next week. Whoever wins in the West will take on Denver. And we're hoping for more lacrosse. I'm sitting here hoping for more lacrosse. Nico doesn't have to hope. Nico
has to pray and do everything possible to make sure the team keeps going. Look, I'm wearing all green for a reason. We're the home team. We're greened out. We're calling it Hulk Smash Weekend. We have like the Chaos are a team that Denver and Utah has this rivalry, right? So that's the 2 other Western Conference teams. Us and Carolina, there's always been bad blood. There's always been we've played them a couple times in the playoffs. We played them throughout different times of the regular season. That there's been bad blood. These 2 teams do not like each other. It's as close as a rivalry we have the Western Conference for the Redwoods, and this is a game that's going to be so much fun and absolutely heart pumping wrenching. I haven't been a part of a playoff game in 2 years, so it's a little bit different for me. It's a lot more high stakes. It's obviously a lot more stressful. It's a lot more intensity with making sure the schedule stays the same and trying not to break break what we've done the last 4 weeks or 3 weeks to make us win every single game. So we try to keep everything the normal as it is, but it's intense. It's intense. It's intensified. The facilities are beautiful in Minnesota. I can't wait to get to Seeger, Minnesota, and out there. It's going to be a fun weekend. I'm very, very nervous, but I remember how nervous I was the first time we made the playoffs, and we weren't expected to win that game. This game, I think it's about a toss-up, and more people are picking the Chaos to win as opposed to us.
Is the game week 3 the only matchup?
Week 2? We played them in Charlotte, then we played them in Chicago as well.
So you guys won Chicago 16-10. They won, or you guys won in Charlotte 16-10. They won in Chicago 12-10. So it is pretty even. The losing team has always scored 10. It's never been outside of 4 goals, and I'm sure that there was probably a 2 bomb because right now the 2 is what makes the difference. That was the deficit that had to be overcome when we were watching live in Denver. It's dead even, but Carolina might be the – honestly, I don't think that there is both teams had to win to keep their spot. You guys won.
Well, Carolina clinched the playoffs with the win in Denver. But
you guys still had to shut the door on Boston. So there is like momentum on both sides. So you can't even really say that one team has the edge that way. I think both teams have. I mean, both teams right now are sitting in the same spot. Neither one is expected to go on and beat Denver. Denver's #1 seed. Denver's been one of the best teams all season. So whoever wins this battle of quote unquote the lessers will continue to have that momentum. Both have a streak that they're looking to keep alive. And there's good storylines on both sides.
Obviously that last game in Boston for Carolina against the Oilers didn't mean a whole lot outside of Champ Series stuff. So you can't really take that one into granted. But they're coming in off of a 4-game winning streak. We're coming in off of 3-game winning streak. So something's got to break. So it's going to be a fun matchup. I mean, like you look at these two rosters. These two rosters have the most turnover between last year and this year. Mm-hmm. Right, like both obviously new coaching staffs. Roy Colsey over there in Carolina and Anthony Kelly for us. They have 10 of their 19 players that are rostered every single week that weren't suited up in Carolina Red last year. We have 12 of every 19 every single week that were not suited up at all for us last year as well. So it's 2 brand new young teams with a lot of great rookies. You have 2 of the probably top rookie of the year candidates and Owen Hiltz from Syracuse, from Carolina, and then Chris Kavanaugh for us from Notre Dame, who are going to be going off for each other. They're #1, #2 in assists. It's going to be a whose defense makes the mistake last, in my opinion. And the one thing we don't have going for us is obviously Blaze Reardon in the other net has won a PLL championship back in 2022 with Chaos, and it has big game experiences. He is top 5 in game and saves in a game, like total. He's had 25 a couple times already this year, which is insane to think about. He is at his best when he's playing his best lacrosse. He is a very tough goalie to beat. One thing we do have going for us, obviously, is our offense has put up over 12 goals the last 3 weeks, right? An offense that has been high power, that's getting production from Dylan Malloy, who should be in the MVP conversation. I know he's not, but he should be because he leads the league in goals. And then you have Chris Kavanaugh, obviously, who I spoke about earlier, who's been going off consistently. You add that on top of the midfield depth we have. McAdory, one of the best midfielders already as a rookie. You look at Romar Dennis, who has the 2-point bomb range. We have a lot of things that go well for us offensively, but on the flip side, Carolina's defense is the best in the league for the reason. Jared Newman, Jack Rowlett, Troy Ray and company. They consistently lock down your favorite player's favorite player. And it's going to be a tough task seeing what our offense can do because we match up, I would say, about evenly size-wise with their defense. And we're going to need production out of the secondary and third option guys. So we'll see how it goes.
Can you tell with what you've been, your interactions with the players, is there a preference of being the first game of the playoffs as opposed to the game that gets to kind of I feel like there'd be a little bit more energy and probably a little bit more likelihood of mistakes being the first game of the weekend. But do you think that the players care? They're the second one. They have to wait a little bit longer. Is there anything that has to go with that?
Weirdly enough, we've been majority of the first game this year, or at least not have had a game before us directly, like maybe an early 12 o'clock game as opposed to with a late game. So we haven't really had the second game of back-to-back many times this year, so it's a little bit different for us. I would say the second game would probably give you a little bit more kudos. You get to relax a little bit more during the day. You can get more sleep throughout it, right? With
kind of see how the ball's bouncing that day.
Exactly. Walkthroughs a little bit later. You can see how the grass is feeling, how the turf/grass is feeling in Minnesota. With the first game, you can see how the waves are bouncing or where the lights will be coming at. One problem I don't know if Minnesota has this problem, but some stadiums do, like we did in Utah. This Salt Lake City had this problem. In the third quarter of our Salt Lake City game, the sun was right in the goalie's eyes. And I mean, directly in the goalie's eyes. And that was a 6 o'clock start game. So obviously with the direction of the sun and setting down in a certain direction of the stadium, some of these stadiums we play in are not built for the cross. So they don't take that into account, coverage of a certain part of the end zone. So to make sure that the goalie doesn't have something shining bright in his eyes. So that's a factor in with the early game. The late game, it's already done. You don't really need to worry about it too much. So that's a good thing about it for the late game.
Looking at that early game in the Eastern Conference, I know your focus is on the Redwoods game, but with Maryland and Philly going head to head, Philly also a team that missed out on the playoffs last year, so similar to the Redwoods. Who has the edge in that one? I know that they've played twice so far this season. Who do you think in the Eastern Conference has a better chance of moving on there?
With this game, a couple things come into factor. Obviously, the Water Dogs not being in the playoffs with a new coach and Coach Tierney. Obviously, not new coach, but a new coach in terms of the Water Dogs, new coaching. Last year, they didn't make the playoffs last year. He's one of the greatest all-time coaches of all time when it comes to playoffs. He's won championships at DU, won championships all across the collegiate landscape, and now with the professional as well. He has a chance to be one of the first coaches to ever do that. On the flip side, you look at Jim Stagnito over there as the head coach. He won the first 2 PLL championships. The team that was in the championship game last year. Whipstakes really limped into the playoffs. I'll say that. They've had some bad games against us. It comes to mind, obviously. Another bad game against Carolina as well. So they had some games with very winnable games that they just lost. And that makes me very intrigued what this matchup will look like. Because, like I said, when the lights shine bright, the Whips usually win playoff games. But if you look at the offensive talent and, frankly, the goaltending, I give the nods to the Water Dogs. You look at Michael Sauer, CJ Kurse, Kieran McCardle, Jake Taylor and company for the Water Dogs. They have talent all across the board coming from so many different angles. Yeah. Whipsnakes just have a lockdown defense and have that big game experience. Obviously, Rob Pinnell, a guy who was with us, playoff experience. A guy like Matt Rambo, who knows if he's in the lineup, championship experience. It's going to come down to seeing what happens in the trenches. If I were to expect a game to be a blowout between these 2 games, it'd be the first one. I'll be honest with you. I expect our game to be a lot closer. The first game, I think it could go 1 of 2 ways. 1, the Water Dogs aren't ready for the showtime and they get demolished. Or 2, the Whipsticks had so many troubles at the end of the year that the Water Dogs just take advantage of every single aspect of it. So I think it's going to be a good game. If I were to lean away, I would say Water Dogs, but we'll see. I have no idea because I've learned to never doubt the Whips and how good they are when it comes to playoff time.
It is going to be interesting because it's a different offensive attack than what I've seen Maryland play against the Redwoods. They have a different way of getting towards the cage. Water Dogs are kind of like a hockey team where they have so many guys just crashing the crease and you find one open pass and the goaltender doesn't know who to follow. So I think that's kind of the intrigue there. I haven't really seen them go up against the attack that they're going to see from Philly. With this, I think the last thing to talk about, these teams that are playing this weekend as opposed to the 2 teams that have the first round bye being the number 1 seed in their conference. We saw it in the college football playoff. It didn't really help that much in the NFL playoffs either because we saw Detroit losing the divisional round against Washington. Is it better to keep your momentum going, or do you think that having that 1 extra week, possibly breaking up a slow end to the season because both these teams were pretty much locked up as the 1 seed for a while, what do you think is the preference there?
couple of things to know is obviously New York is coming in with the 2 weeks off. Denver is coming in with 4 weeks off. Obviously, that bye week in Boston, having that built-in bye week, having the bye week, obviously for the playoffs and then the first round, 4 weeks. They haven't played since August 1st. So it has been a full 19 days already, and they don't play for another week as well. So obviously they're practicing this weekend, so that may help them get some legs underneath them. But in terms of readiness, I look at what last year happened. The Archers were the 1 seed, and Atlas were the other 1 seed. Utah took care of business pretty well in their second round matchup against, I believe it was Carolina. And then when it came to New York came out flat. Came out super flat against Whips Maryland and had to claw back into the game. And luckily got to overtime, but they didn't have the legs to push it through. I look at 2 years ago where we only had one number 1 seed. I believe it was I'm gonna have to remember this. I think it might have been Utah again with the number 1 seed overall. They obviously had the whole run on into the playoffs and won a championship game too. So I think the bye hurts to an essence, but I would not take too much into account readiness as opposed to rust. One thing that obviously the pro lacrosse league has is different than every other sport is you only practice once a week.
Yeah.
Practice before a game. So it's not like football where you have a bye week where you're around the facility, right? Where you're around the facility, you're around the guys 24/7. Obviously, only a handful of guys. Probably, like I said, a lot of our league lives in New York. There's no doubt about that. But so they can get together a couple of them at a time. But in terms of getting the full team together, Zoom is as best as you can get, really. So it's not easy, but we'll see. I think if there's a team that would struggle the most with the amount of time off, I would say it's Denver, because New York has the experience of last year's bye week, as well as obviously getting to having the game in Boston too. So that's where I would lean.
I think we're all in for a treat because the PLL has, I think, the most parity across. So all these teams that made the dance, it only takes one. Everybody's trying to fight their way to get to the following weekend, which would be in Philadelphia. And from there, you got another 2 weeks if you're able to win 2 games. Win 2 games, and you're in the dance. That's all you're really looking for at this moment. Anything else for the PLL before we get into the football stuff that we have to get to talk about?
Like I said, we'll hopefully we get a big win this weekend, and we can talk about the semis next week. Is all I'll say. We'll talk about the semis either way, but hopefully we can move on, and the green machine over here can keep going.
No, it would be nice to have a team make a little bit more of a playoff run. We got kind of gypped with both the Nuggets and the Avalanche this year. The Avs not making it past the Stars in the first round, and then the Nuggets could have been the one team to upset the Thunder. But obviously, go back and watch our playoff streams if you want more of our takes on those things. I don't know if anybody would really want to do that, especially if you're a fan of Denver. Football time. College football is here. So we've been going through the conferences. We went through SEC, Big 10, Big 12. We're going to talk about the ACC, which is the last of the Power Four, and then also the Group of Five. The change this year being no automatic bids. So the top 4 conference champions last year got automatic bids. They had the bye week. This year it's 1 through 12. If you're one of the top 4, you still have the bye, but winning your conference doesn't necessarily guarantee you that spot. The ACC, I think, was the biggest beneficiary of this last year. They had Clemson and SMU in their championship game. SMU, up until that point, only lost 1 game. Clemson wins. They finished the season with 3 losses. They played Texas in the opening round of the playoff. Obviously, SMU got dominated by Penn State. That is the highest level that they were able to reach. 1 first round of the college football playoff. We've mentioned it a few times going through the other conferences. ACC is definitely the weakest of any of the, quote, Power 4. It's really the Big 10, the SEC, the Big 12. And then I think we can talk about that's why they're in this group together. The ACC and Group of 5 teams are pretty similar. Don't forget, SMU 2 years ago was in the American Conference as a Group of 5 team. They go into the ACC for 1 year and make it all the way to the conference championship. You obviously have the Miamis of the world behind Mario Cristobal. Syracuse is expected to be pretty decent, but they lost Kyle McCord, the transfer quarterback from Ohio State. So what are we thinking with the ACC? Is there really much that we need to discuss? Is this going to be our quickest preview for who we think is going to win? Where are we sitting?
I think this will be the quickest preview, but I think the one team people are circling, and it's the old Texas lineage. Are they back? Are we back yet? Are we're back? Are we back? Are we back? Are we not? Are we, like, it's the Miami Hurricanes. Obviously, last year having Cam Ward, they were expected to be a playoff team with until they lost to Syracuse. Or was it Syracuse at the end of the
season?
It
was Syracuse, so they lost.
Last game of the regular season.
They lost two games at the end of the regular season. The one they could still have qualified for the ACC. They just had to beat Syracuse, and then Syracuse whooped them out there in the Carrier Dome, and it wasn't even really close. Cam Ward didn't really do much to help his team win that game. He's not the reason they lost, but he didn't actually do anything to help them win. Their defense is a problem. I'll say that. Like a lot of the teams that we're about to discuss in the NFL and NCAA, their defense is a problem.
I think with Miami, like, it's what does Carson Beck look like also? Like, Carson Beck, obviously the transfer from Georgia, a guy that has everything in its mother going off the field wrong for him. And because he got kicked to the curb by his girlfriend, got kicked to the curb, by his girlfriend for his own fault. Got kicked to the curb by Georgia, probably he's also his own fault. What will he look like with this Miami Hurricanes team? That's because I think it's boom or bust. Because this team, like, I don't even know the name of the coach off the top of my head. Is so
Mario Cristobal.
Like, this is a make or break year for him. If he cannot get a team like Miami to the 12-team playoff, especially with the lineage and how bad the ACC is in general, with a guy like Carson Beck who has had playoff experience, it could be trouble. It could be very big trouble for Cristobal in Miami.
It's a big thing, and it's not like it's a foregone conclusion. Like last year, you were 11-1 going into the end of the regular season. You had to take advantage of that because this year you start the year off the Aflac kickoff game, Notre Dame and Miami, week 1, Catholics versus convicts. So you don't get runway into the season. After that, you play Bethune and South Florida. South Florida is not a team like they're not good. They're not as good as Miami, but they're a team that likes to beat other schools in Florida and wave the state championship flag around. So you're not going to be able to take that one lightly. And then you're hosting Florida the week after that. And the following week, you have the Miami-Florida State game. Like, once they get into the ACC schedule, it lightens up a little bit. They do go to SMU, so they have to play the Ponies on the road. They have to go to Pitt at the end of the season. This is not a foregone conclusion that they're a top team in the ACC even this year. Like, they might lose 3 or 4 games, and then they still have 2 or 3 ACC games that I could see them dropping just because it's Miami, and that's the way that they've been going ever since the early 2000s.
I mean, ever since, like, the Ray Lewis, Ed Reed days have gone by, they've always fallen short to a team that they should have beat. And I mean, the other team we haven't even touched on, the ACC, I think that obviously has a guy that could win the Heisman too, and Cade Klubnik is Clemson. Obviously, it looks like, I mean, I don't know I haven't seen what the transfer portal has looked like, but I think Clemson actually had transfers.
They did open up into the transfer portal.
So I think that will help Dabo a little bit, and he realized I can't stick in my old ways, or else this ain't gonna work. Them preseason ranked number 4, I think, is a little too high.
They host LSU week 1, so it's going to be proven. Yeah, it's going to be proven fast. ACC, the top ACC teams this year in the 25 don't have an easy game this year to start the season.
No, they are pounded up, ready to go. And like I said, maybe it's a good thing because the ACC, if they have these early regular season gate wins, like the LSU, like the Florida game for Miami or whatever it may be, like you could see a situation where they have those early wins. And this is what we talk about in college basketball. Wins against quality opponents.
Yeah.
ACC could have those, which means I'm just saying it could.
No, there's a reason why I schedule an out of conference team in the video game, and then I go through their schedule and force them to go. They lose to me, but they go 11-1 otherwise because it's quality. And I'm in the American, so I need to make sure that my team, the teams that I play, end up having good seasons, and I don't totally derail them. So yeah, it's not like out of the realm of possibility. What I do think this year is we might see a team totally come out of nowhere. Kind of like think of Indiana last year in the Big Ten. I know that they didn't make it to the championship game because they ended up losing the big games at the end. Teams that I think are on people's radar, especially with the way their offseason went. North Carolina, first season under Bill Belichick. Is he just going to be an NFL factory, or is he actually going to try and put things together? Is Jordan going to get out of his way? Is his girlfriend going to get out of his way out there in Chapel Hill? I think that a team, I don't really have that much faith in Syracuse because of the fact that they won't have McCord. McCord played a lot of football. Whether you liked him at Ohio State or not, I think that he got a bad deal having to transfer out of there with one bad throw, and Ohio State's never going to think about him again because they've won the national championship. So it's a moot point. SMU's intriguing, but I think the team that nobody's really watching, and they have a big game that's close to home for us week 1, Georgia Tech. Because Georgia Tech, the last time we saw them in the regular season, took the University of Georgia to 8 overtimes. It's a rivalry game, so you have to take that into account. It's good old-fashioned hate. I would have watched that team play 5 more times at the end of the regular season. If it was going to do that every single time, I wish we had the old college football college football overtime rules instead of just the 2 points back and forth. Georgia Tech is talented. They've gotten out of the old wishbone triple option offense, so they're running a true offense now for 2025. Their team, like they play Clemson early. They'll play Miami. They play CU, which they're favored in that game. The Yellow Jackets are a team that I don't think are getting talked about, that with a weak ACC and these other teams playing really tough out of conference schedules, I think that the Yellow Jackets are going to be right there by the end of the season.
I think they'll have a number at the back of the name. I think I think you hit the nail on the head. I think their big tests are going to be Miami. I think it's going to be big tests as being Clemson, and that's where we're really going to see what the team's made of. Because, like you just said, rivalry games adds a little bit more juice. Obviously, Gales games are always a little bit closer because of all the stakes in it.
They already have a betting line for the Georgia Tech game at the end of the season for this year. I don't know how that's possible.
That's nuts to me. I just like I said, I'm a Georgia Tech fan. I'm optimistically cautious. Is all I'll say. Is like I would not take too much into account the 8 overtimes. I would say, we hate them, they hate us. Let's just buy it out and go from there. If you want to be a real contender of the ACC, you have to beat Clemson. You have to beat Miami. That's the tone set for Georgia Tech, and I think they feel that as well.
Yeah, it'll be interesting because, like we said, Clemson will be coming off the LSU matchup in their first game. Georgia Tech will have Colorado and then Gardner-Webb in between. So you take care of business in Folsom. A lot of people are expecting you to win. No Shedeur Sanders, no Travis Hunter for CU. I don't think it's not a runaway win. I think that they'll have to work for it, especially early on. But you pick up momentum. You go into the Clemson matchup week 3 at 2-0. Clemson's on the road. Clemson so far in the new era of college football that's when they're most vulnerable. That's when you can catch them, is on the road early in the season. So that's Georgia Tech's best chance, because after that, they play Temple, they play Wake Forest, they play Virginia Tech, they play Duke, they play Syracuse. They don't have another really quality opponent, I would say. I mean, and it can change depending on how the season goes. The next quality opponent they have after Clemson is Georgia at the end of the season. That's the only other team ranked in the top 25 that they will see.
Yeah, I mean, that'll help them a lot. I mean, I would expect Stanford to get in, or sorry, not Stanford, Syracuse to step in the top 25. I would expect North Carolina to be hovering.
Pitt's almost kind of right there too. If they get a guy, I know that he's done nothing in the NFL, but when they had Pickett, they were in the top 25 and in the conference championship race towards the end of the season in the 4-team era. So
I think the ACC is so bad. I think there'll be a couple teams who will just be like, okay, that team's just winning games because they flat out have a better coaching staff. That's why North Carolina could surprise some heads. It's like Belichick knows he's in a weak ACC, an ACC that maybe is 1 or 2 teams that have a real shot at the college football playoff and winning a game, and probably not a real. I mean, you can maybe throw Clemson in there with Klubnik and maybe Miami partially with Carson Beck as real championship contenders preseason, but not a real standout team that you're like, oh, this is the Texas, this is the Ohio State, this is the Alabama of sorts, or Georgia of sorts, where you're like, hey, that team is going to be competing for a national championship no matter what. There's a real chance that Clemson, if I were to put it up in the air right now, I think it's about 50-50. It's the same. The odds of Clemson losing the first round of the playoff game and also making the semis of the college football playoff is probably the same odds. And I would even argue Clemson missing the playoff is about the same as well. So it's anybody's game in this ACC. And like I said, we went over 6-7 teams, and like I said, I think Georgia Tech is a great one that you just point out that could surprise a lot of teams with even one win. I would say even one win against a Clemson or Miami, and probably if I were to pick between the two, I think you probably prefer Clemson win because it's a higher ranked team. But I think
they don't see Miami. Clemson, they
Okay.
see the weaker side of the ACC. So that also goes to my point. Like, you get through the one tough game against the Tigers, you're in the clear. Make sure you don't shoot yourself in the foot. Don't have any of those college games. Like, keep your guys.
The one thing that will help Georgia Tech though is like obviously Georgia at the end of the season is a non-conference game. So if they are in the ACC championship, it'll already be settled.
They won't be able to do what Miami did last year and lose out on the last game of the season. I think the last thing that's interesting about the ACC is, do you think the champion of this conference, like last year, will have 3 or more losses? Because that's basically the bar that every other conference sets. If you're a conference champion but you have more than 2 losses, you're probably going to be on the outside looking in at the playoff.
I mean, like if this conference wants to have more than one representative, then it's going to have to be a 1-loss or 2-loss champion. I think that's as weird as that sounds. If you are in Miami or Clemson, you almost want the opposition to do good. Mm-hmm. You almost want that the ACC championship game to be meaningful, obviously for placement in the bracket, but also not a deal breaker in terms of you getting knocked out of the playoffs. So I mean, you got to look at what the top 12 looks like, and we've already said that we think that 8 teams from the Big Ten and SEC combined will be in the college football playoff. So it's 4 slots that you got to think about, and maybe 5 slots if you're lucky. I guess getting 2 ACC schools would be huge. I just don't know if they have to have a better year than the Big 12 to be able to have 2 representatives. Because I think a 2-loss Big 12 team would have a better chance of making it than a 2 or 3-loss ACC team. That's not a conference champion.
Yeah. If they want to get back into the conversation of a true group of 4 too, because right now they're Power 4 because it's the last one.
They're also good at other sports, and that is
the other thing.
Yeah.
ACC has basketball unlocked. They have baseball pretty much locked down. Virginia and Virginia Tech are always good at baseball. Let's talk about some of the group of 5 teams. So Boise State was the group of 5 representative last season, winning the Mountain West. Obviously, they're going to be moving. I think they're one of the teams that's going to be back in the Mountain West when they redo that and kind of bring that back. I think they're moving back to the Pac-12, I think, because the Mountain West is combining with the old Pac-12 to remake a bigger conference. Tulane was really good in the American. James Madison was a strong candidate a couple years ago when they first made the jump up to Division I, when they had to get an exception to be eligible for a bowl. Navy is another team now that they're in a conference in the American. They had a really strong case until they got beat up by Notre Dame last year. Who do you think is probably going to be that group of 5 representative? Because there's going to be one. The other question that we can talk about after is, do you think there might be more than one?
Sorry, repeat it. So
who do you think is the team of the group of 5 that is most likely going to be on the bracket? Not where they're going to be, but who's going to be on the bracket?
The group of 5.
And again, this year it might not be.
Yeah, this is not.
There is a chance. There is a possibility that I guess none of them make it if none of them finish in the top 12.
Does Notre Dame count?
Notre Dame does not count. They're
so I guess that's the obvious answer.
Yeah.
I think that's I mean, they're already highly.
Well, but there's other independents too. There's other independents, so they technically are a conference, but we're not gonna. We don't get to put them in there.
I mean, Notre Dame comes to mind as the first one. Boise State is the next one. I think that's probably the number 1, number 2 out of the non.
Do you think Boise has that good of a chance to win the Mountain West without Genty? Because Genty is who they've been relying on for like 4, 5, 6, 7 COVID years.
Yeah, I think they got the 25th ranking preseason just because of what they did last year. To be honest with you, I mean the Mountain West. This is
how their program goes. They have a really good NFL prospect where they're like, why is this team playing in the Mountain West? And then after the prospect leaves, they go, oh well, we're in Boise, Idaho. And we don't really have the resources that these other schools in other areas do. That's why we're in the Mountain West. And then they'll come back up.
Well, I mean, they'll be in the Pac-12 next year.
Yeah.
So I mean,
but again, in Pac-12, are we going back to Power 5 or are we is it group of 6 now?
They're Power 5, but it's like 1A, 1B, 2 or the third team or third conference in Big 12, 4 ACC, and then a lot of dog shit. 5th Pac-12.
Yeah, because you're also adding in Nevada. I think you're taking the Mountain West and adding the old Pac-12 schools, so it's going to be Cal, Stanford, Nevada.
I don't think it's Stanford. Well, maybe not Stanford. I know for sure it was Boise, Colorado State. I think it was Nevada too. It might have been UNLV also, and that's about.
UNLV was a surprising team in the Mountain West last year. They lost in the conference championship to Boise, but if they would have won that, they had every right as some of the other, like Tulane out of the American. I think you could have made just as strong of an argument if UNLV wins their conference as being that one representative for last season. That's the tough part, though. Are they going to be able to make the bracket? Because you can win, you can win these conferences and still be on the bubble. And until there's more expansion or until they make something that's a little bit more uniform, maybe they take away buys or it's only 2 buys and then there's more chances for teams to play. It is hard for me to sit here, and I've kind of talked myself out of it. I said initially there will be one. I don't know if there's going to be one. Maybe all of these teams have a down year. Maybe all the conferences are able to reach into that NIL fund and go forward. There's teams that I'm going to bring up that nobody's talking about. One that's been featured on this channel pretty recently, the UTSA Roadrunners, one of the youngest teams that have moved up besides James Madison now and Texas State. They're a team that has Owen McCown at quarterback, who was at CU before he transferred and won the MVP of their bowl game last season. He's on the short list of possible finalists for the Johnny Unitas Golden Arm Award. They have a big season on offense. Their defense is able to hold people out. They could win their conference and be in this conversation too, but are you confident that there's going to be a group of 5 team here? Because besides Notre Dame, they don't.
Besides Notre Dame, I would say no. That's. Yeah, I mean, besides Notre Dame, I can't see another team unless a team just runs the table and goes undefeated. I mean, that's, and I don't think there's. I mean, Boise State might be the only one. I mean, I don't think there's another. I'm looking at the MAC. I don't see anybody in the MAC. That would surprise me. I don't think you can count the Pac-12. I don't even know how that works. The Sun Belt, I don't see anything. Like the American, maybe, like I said, we have this conversation every year about Army and Navy. Maybe one of them. But that's like pushing daisies, in my opinion. So I'd be very surprised.
Well, let's get into the actual game that we have this week. It's our first top 25 matchup of the college football season. It is taking place this Saturday, August 23rd in Dublin. Dublin, Ireland will see the number 22 Iowa State Cyclones and the number 17 Kansas State Wildcats. Big 12 matchup. We did our Big 12 preview last week, and I think we did say that both of these teams are on the short list of contenders for Big 12 championships because Iowa State was in that game last year and lost to Arizona State. Kansas State was picked to be a possibility for that game in the preseason. They just were terrible in one-score games, but they have their quarterback returning. I think both coaches have established themselves, so nobody needs to worry about whose culture is going to be stronger. It's pretty dead even on both sides. Who do you think is handling the travel and I guess like the spectacle around this? Because in college sports, and especially when any team goes across an ocean, that's going to be like when you're traveling this far from home, who's going to handle the travel best is who's probably going to win.
I mean, Iowa State is kind of plays a tough conference. Kansas State has been hot and cold the last couple of years. I don't know anything about either team. I don't pay attention.
The player,
I can't sit here and toot too much horn about who's going to win based upon this statistic. Unfortunately,
no. That's who do you think? Who do you trust more, or who do you think has a better chance of? Do you think either team handles the travel well? Because we've seen this game not play well. Depending on who's out there.
I mean, Iowa State kind of has a little bit more travel they have to deal with every single year in the Big, or I guess they both play in the Big 12. What am I kidding? I thought Iowa State was.
This is going to be the longest either team has traveled, so I think that there's a chance that this is ugly early, and maybe we get a blowout late because it is the Big 12, and we know that nobody brings defenses. I think that this is. If we would have known about that Booth guy that we were talking about last week earlier with Kansas, I think Kansas maybe takes one of these two spots instead of Iowa State and Kansas State. Because I get what they're doing. None of the other schools, like all the schools that we really want to see, are playing the week after. But if you're going to do this international game every year, at least give us something where we know something about these schools. Because I agree with you. Like outside of Ames, Iowa, and Manhattan, Kansas. I don't know who's on the field besides Avery Johnson. And I know that Iowa State's replacing 2 All-American receivers. So we'll see if they're able to do that.
I remember Avery Johnson from last year. So I would give the nod Kansas State because they have, I think, the more talented quarterback. And Iowa State is, I think, still recovering from losing a lot of guys. Like I said, 2 top receivers in the draft this past year. So I think Avery Johnson is going to show out for them. So I'll take Kansas State.
I think Kansas State is going to establish themselves as a true contender. Iowa State can lose this game. They have the Iowa matchup earlier on in the season. That'll be kind of where I think they'll get back on track. And they can still be around the championship, even losing this early week 0 matchup. NFL football time. Last week I said wasn't going to be contentious, and it ended up being because of my Ryan Leaf comments. And I know you didn't like those. I know a lot of people on the internet didn't like those. I did have some people say that they were more on my side than yours. They weren't going as far as bringing him into the conversation, but that's what I do. I tend to bring things to another level. The AFC North is probably going to be contentious. I'm just going to sit here and say it, and maybe not for the reasons that you guys are thinking. I'm not going to sit here and wave the banner. I will say,
I think it's probably going to be very similar. I honestly think there's 2 bad teams, like really bad teams.
Not really bad. I wouldn't say really
bad.
One
really bad.
One really bad. One team that won't get out of their own way, and then 2 teams that are known, but I still don't know what to expect out of Pittsburgh. And Baltimore might just be like the default winner because they have the least amount of shit to deal with right now. But the Bengals got their first preseason win in 5 years. First preseason win under Zach Taylor.
And Joe Burrow was playing.
He was playing. He got his ass lit up because he's playing. None of his starting offensive line played. If my quarterback's playing as the starting offensive lineman, I'm telling the coach, I'm going to Zach Taylor's office. I'm saying, I'm protecting him. And you want me to protect him because we know how stingy the owner is, and he's already shelled out $500 million for this guy. So we should probably put our best guys out there.
Here, Joe, we already get enough headaches about how bad our offensive line is. Let's put the backups in front of you and have a backup center, and let's see what you're made of.
I think the only good thing that came out of that situation is, we had a interview with Dalton Reisner the next day, and of course that didn't get done before he left for his other visits because the Bengals won't sign a contract until right at the beginning of the season. That's what they did with Joe. That's what they did with Jamar. T is the only one that didn't get it right before the season started, but it was after the year that his contract came up. It's mainly like, speaking on the Bengals, they just do everything wrong as an organization. The memes were beautiful. The memes on Monday night were beautiful. The side-by-side picture of Burrow getting his ass lit up behind your backup offensive line and then spending the second half talking to the guy that you just now publicly, again, made the public announcement. I don't know if it's from the Bengals. I think there's probably reporters that just hit that button every now and then. But the reports came out again about Trey Hendrickson seeking a trade. And then you had Joe Burrow talking to him the entire second half. Like, we do everything wrong. We're gonna let 40 sacks of production walk out of our door because we're too proud. Like, because right now the negotiations, right, what has been reported is it's coming down to a year of guaranteed money. The Bengals want to give Trey 2, Trey wants 3, and the Bengals are refusing to move off of that. And I said yesterday,
that's insane.
It's insane.
I don't know crazy amount of money. It's like a year.
It is. And here's the other thing about that. You can still cut him if he does fall off the 30-year-old cliff. He already doesn't play the run very well. He's a hell of a pass rusher. He has very clearly been the best guy on your defense for the last 2 years where your defense has been terrible. It's not like he elevates it to anything good, but he is the only good thing on your defense. Give him the 3-year guaranteed contract, and you can still cut him if he's not doing what you want to do. And after the first year, it's not going to hurt you that much. Also, this is what teams do in the NFL. You take gambles, and sometimes it pays off. Sometimes it doesn't. Like, they gambled a few years ago in free agency. They brought in Alex Kappa coming off winning a Super Bowl for the Bucs, and they went back into the playoffs and made it to the conference championship again before he got hurt. Like, sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't. But the fact that the Bengals continually sit there and don't even swing. I played baseball growing up. If I stood there in the batter's box and didn't swing the bat once, with the amount of time that my family was investing throughout the week at practice, the amount of time that they spend sitting at the field on Saturdays watching me play, that was when I was getting my ass chewed. It wasn't when I went up there and swung it 3 pitches 5 feet outside the plate. You at least got to swing.
You have to give it a try. With Trey Hendrickson, we've said the talent is just out of this world in general. Like he's one of the best edge rushers in the league, but he is older, like I said, and frankly, like,
and he's not a good defensive player. He's a very good pass rusher.
Pass rusher, exactly. You have to take a swing, and I understand where he's coming from because you want to get paid during the top of your career. Because right now he's the best he'll ever be. He'll only fall off. It won't get much better than we've seen this past year and this year, in my opinion. So it's a situation where I understand where the Bengals are coming from with the 2 years, but you also are setting a precedent that you are not willing to pay your guys, but you paid certain guys because Joe told you to.
Well, and
did Joe not tell you to sign Trey? I guess, but I guess
he did.
Sign Jamar and.
I think he did tell them to sign Trey, but again, it's the precedent is, and Burrow said this in his press conference, they don't do it until a week before the season starts.
Yeah.
He said it. He said how we, speaking of the Bengals, do business here is we're not going to get it done until we absolutely have to. It's almost like they're all sitting in the office for all of training camp, all of preseason. They're just sitting there watching the clock, waiting for it to hit 5 o'clock or whenever they're going to go home, twiddling their thumbs. And then all of a sudden, the last week of the preseason hits, and it's SpongeBob when they're throwing shit out in his brain, like, "Oh my God, we haven't signed Trey Hendrickson. We don't have a guard that's good enough to block for Joe Burrow. Like, we have 4 really solid offensive linemen, but we don't have a right guard. We haven't had a right guard for 3 years. Okay, we'll go again. Lucas Patrick, here, come on down." I felt really bad when Palczewski went down because if he didn't make the Broncos, that was another guy I was going to say, Bengals, you get his ass in the offensive line room, please. We need somebody else.
You got to do something. It's the good thing is like you don't worry about your depth until you need it, and when you start worrying about it is when guys don't get signed and when you're running into difficulties when you're not rushing passer, when you're not holding the ball offensive line, when you're running out to those problems and you're like, oh well, we should have done this, that, and the other thing a lot earlier on. So I just worry. I still don't think this is the worst team in the division for multiple reasons because I think we can dive into that. I think you and I both have the worst team in the division, the same one for a reason, and it's the Cleveland Browns. I can't believe you have a Cleveland Browns stuffed animal. That's news to me.
It's from way back in the day. Way back in the day. It's
the only
reason I don't know how.
Only reason why I like that is because it's a dog. Does this team know what they're doing?
I really don't know because
I don't think so.
what your one rookie quarterback said that could be construed about your other rookie quarterback, whether it is or not, the fact that there is no PR training when you're in the Cleveland organization apparently, because Dylan Gabriel making the comment, some of you are entertained, some of us are entertainers, some of us are competitors. I'm a competitor. I know that's where I stand. Read the room. If I'm playing quarterback for the Browns right now, I am not saying anything about getting massages after the game, and I'm probably not saying anything that could be construed as a shot against Deion Sanders because there are a million people looking for an actual shot at Deion and Shedeur Sanders so that they can run with it, and there's as many people waiting for people to say something so they can call you out on it. Because, again, if we're just going based on what they did on the field, Shedeur Sanders should be the quarterback over Dylan Gabriel on the Browns roster. Should he start over Flacco at the beginning of the season is another conversation. Flacco's not going to play in the regular season because he's pushing 50. He's really only 40.
Are they keeping 5 quarterbacks?
They're not keeping 5 quarterbacks. I think Pickett is gone. I think it'll be Flacco. I think it'll be Gabriel. And if they don't trade Shedeur, I think that they feel at this point
they'd be dumb at this point not to.
I feel at this point they think that they could possibly keep him on practice squad, and then you still have him in the organization. I don't think that there is another team. I mean, we talked about it last week with the South, the NFC South, maybe the Saints. But again, if I'm Shedeur, like you don't have a choice in that situation if they pick you up after you get cut.
Well,
but that's not.
I mean, I don't know what the rules are. Can't guys get signed off the practice squad too?
They can't get signed off a practice squad. I think a team has a certain, because you get 16 on the practice squad now, and I think you have certain players that you can protect, but it's not like a big number, and there's a certain amount of protections. And a good portion of the practice squad goes to the offensive line, because offensive and defensive lines, because that's where you see a lot of the injuries. There can still be, I mean, I really don't know. Like, I think Pickett's the one that's gone. Because he's been hurt and nobody's been able to see him play. Is there
a scenario where Stewart gets cut?
I don't think that there's a scenario. I'm not going to sit here and say no, because I don't think that he was wanted there in the first place. I think that it was a poor decision by one person.
Kenny Pickett was traded for, wasn't he?
I think he was picked. I think he was picked up.
I don't remember.
I think he was done.
It was a trade because
it was a trade.
He was on the Super Bowl winning champion. Kenny Pickett was on the Eagles, and they traded Dorian Thompson-Robinson to Philly.
Oh yeah, we did watch. I did watch DTR play against Cleveland this weekend.
So he did get traded to them. So I think there's a real scenario he might get cut, and frankly, because they don't want to deal with the headache.
You don't want to deal with the headache, but you haven't seen Pickett play. And when is he going to be healthy to play? That's also true. Is he going to, because that's the other loophole, is if he is hurt and he's not going to be available for the beginning of the season, you can place him on the IR and you don't have to cut Sanders now.
It's just hilarious to me because there's so many other problems with this team that they are dealing
outside
with.
Outside of defense, their defense is stacked. Defense is stacked besides linebacker. Denzel Ward is a really good corner. Myles Garrett
is very, very good. I like the pick up with Quishawn Judkins. I think their offensive line still needs work. I think that they're young on offense. Jerry Jeudy is going to be very good for them next year, I think, too. The problem I have is, like, this is the same thing, which we'll get to the Colts a different week. Like this is the same thing the Colts are running into. The coach is Steve Anstey's coaching for his job. Are you going to throw a rookie quarterback in there that's going to struggle but show talent and show promise? Or are you going to try to win football games with Joe Flacco? Because he may give you the best chance to at least not turn the ball over and get the ball to the right guy.
To get to the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, and that's even if to get to the playoffs.
Even if, yes.
Even if.
I'm just saying, that was the last time that we saw Joe Flacco in a Browns uniform. They did make the playoffs, and everybody was like, oh, my God, he's back. It's the Super Bowl is Joe Flacco. And then he threw like 4 interceptions in the wild card round, and we were like, oh, yeah. Your problems don't magically disappear when you get to the playoffs. They actually get worse.
It's wild.
They brought back Joel Bitonio. He's a guy I know pretty well because I love watching him play offensive line. He was a guy that played with Joe Thomas for a long time. It was like 6-7 years he was with Joe Thomas. And yes, I know I just did the 6-7. It must be like subconsciously ingrained in my head with the 12-year-olds that I'm around. It's just – there is nothing good about this situation. If I was a Cleveland Browns fan ever since the draft and continuing moving forward, it is. I have my own problems to deal with. I very clearly have my own problems to deal with. I think my coach is a big pansy. I think the team takes on his personality, and I think this team that can be good and really dominant never is because of the guy that they have in front of them in Cincinnati. But I'm not dealing with the ownership situation that is Cleveland. Jimmy Haslam is not tearing my emotional support football away from me. And that's what he's done in Cleveland. And there really isn't anything else. Like, the weather's bad a majority of the year. You do have the Pro Football Hall of Fame. You have the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. But outside of that, why would I be in Cleveland?
So let's play a game here. Would this team make the playoffs if they hit this quarterback? Would the Browns be a playoff team with Baker Mayfield right now?
Yeah,
I think so too.
I think that they do a better job if they commit to Baker. They probably do a better job of building this team, and we're looking at a dangerous team if they still. Speaking of Baker, they'd wake up feeling pretty dangerous.
I 100% agree. I think if they don't trade their future for Deshaun Watson,
they haven't had a first round pick in like 8 years,
4 years exactly. So they don't do that. They keep those first round picks. You get a couple more defensive studs. You get a couple offensive linemen. You add on top of that Jeudy, Judkins, and the rest of the team on offense, and Njoku, who's a very good receiving tight end as well. Mm-hmm. This team would be a playoff team, literally.
We don't even have to go any further than Baker, but
I can go down a list of guys that
I know. And Baker's the best one to start with because he was in-house. He was in-house and he proved he could do it with He
He
beat
did
you.
it. He literally did it. He
did
unlocked the Bud Light coolers.
He did it
Remember
before
that?
he did it before the Bengals did it. He broke the Browns curse before the Bengals broke their curse.
And what a difference in 6 years since then. I mean,
it's been absolutely apparently we were just working to break those curses and then start new ones. Because it's a 2-year curse without the play. It's a 2-year curse without either team in the playoffs.
I don't want to waste my breath more on this team because I still think they're bottom of the barrel and they're horrible. Frankly, I mean, maybe we differ between our 2-3. We'll see, or maybe 1-2-3. I guess we'll see where we put your team, or you put your team. But I have the third best team being Pittsburgh. I find it very, very hard to believe that Aaron Rodgers is going to be Aaron Rodgers in Pittsburgh. I think this team stinks. I understand they added DK Metcalf, and Aaron Rodgers has a nice shiny toy over there. And maybe Caleb Johnson, the running back from Iowa, is going to help them big time. But this defense got worse. I think Micah Pacheco is a good safety. I think Jalen Ramsey is a good corner, but this is not 2020 Jalen Ramsey or 2019 Jalen Ramsey, where he was the number one corner in football. He's a lot slower now. TJ Watt is obviously still one of the best pass rushers in the league, but this team, I kid you not, it's like clockwork. Ever since Aaron Rodgers left the Packers, it has been, how can I shoot myself in the foot as hard as I can and be a detriment to everybody around me? And if there's one team that you think could be in check, it'd be Pittsburgh, because they breed excellence and blah, blah, blah. And they've never had a losing record in 30 years.
Do you know that Mike Tomlin was able to coach both Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown in the same locker room?
Ben
Roethlisberger?
That was also, Ben Roethlisberger was insane, but that was before Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell went total cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. That was before.
No, but
I mean,
they both at the end of their time in Pittsburgh. That's when they went crazy.
Exactly. We're also learning with Michael Porter Jr. He was probably also fucking nuts when he played here, but now he's gone. It's like we held him in lock, and I guess maybe there is some truth to that Tomlin was able to keep in track. But those are also 22-year-old men, 23, 24, 25.
You don't think Aaron Rodgers is going to listen to
year-old man that you have to say stop being a baby?
You don't think he's going to listen to Mike Tomlin when he tells him to stop putting the ghee butter up his asshole in the locker room? I apologize for the crudeness of that statement, but that is like what you're dealing with with Aaron Rodgers. My issue is, even last year with Russ, the Steelers still split the series with the Bengals in the regular season.
Yeah, it's because Tomlin's
and I do think that Rodgers is better than Russ at this point. I do think
yes, I agree, but
so I do right now. I have it finishing pretty much the same that it did last year. I don't know if more than one team. I think that there's a chance that more than one team from this division can make the playoffs, but right now I'm seeing it as Baltimore, de facto, pretty much. They do have a multi-time MVP at quarterback. They have Derrick Henry at running back. John Harbaugh has been established there, and the Ravens know how they play. I think that they're just in the best situation, and I don't like the way Zach Taylor gets his team ready to play. I think that you can probably switch the Bengals and Steelers depending on the week of the season this year. There will be times where it looks like the Bengals will challenge the Ravens. There will be times where the Steelers look like it'll be them. I think the Browns will just if they had a first-round pick, they might have their first-round pick this year now. I think that they're drafting in the top 5, and I think that they're very aware of that right now.
And they'll go get Arch Manning or something. I mean, like because that's how I have Baltimore, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, and then Cleveland. I think you're very right of how Cincinnati and Pittsburgh could flip flop depending on, I think, coaching and certain stretches of the season. I do think that Baltimore, I wouldn't say run away with this division, but I do think that they're the more established team, the team that knows how to win football games. Frankly, they're in Buffalo's situation, where they can't win over a big one, but they know that they can make the playoffs. When it comes
to they didn't really run away with it last year too. They just won. They were always like 2 or 3 games ahead of whoever was in second.
So like I said, I think. I mean, like I said, it wouldn't surprise me if Cincinnati won the division and Joe Burrow has a great year, but it's going to be dependent on this defense, and I'm not going to keep beating a dead horse. Defense playing above what's expected. Because if it plays what's expected right now, it's not going to be a team that's winning the division, let alone it's going to be a fringe wildcard team. So I like I said, I think this division can get 2 teams. I'd be honest with you. I think this division gets two teams as opposed to the East and the NFC East or AFC, excuse me. I think this is a division that Cincinnati or Pittsburgh would outlast.
So it's going to be pretty much all AFC West and AFC North.
I would say yes. I would say yes.
I think that's the popular opinion right now.
Yeah.
I think that everybody's predicting 3 out of the West and maybe 2 out of the North right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think the South is, or the
East and South both will get 1, so that'll make 7. But it's going to be
but the
5.
The South
five
has
of
like
the
3
7.
bad teams, and the East has 1 good team and a bunch of unproven teams. So I think that's how it goes. I think you hit the nail on the head. It's going to be 2-1 out of the West and the North Division in terms of wild card teams. I think 1 team will surprise us, and there'll be 1 South team that makes some noise and 1 East team that makes some noise. But I think that's as far as it goes.
I think the last thing with this division, I have it going Baltimore and Pittsburgh and then Cincinnati. I won't be set with where I think Cincinnati will finish until that Monday Night Football game against the Broncos. And it also kind of depends on how the season looks up until that point. If both those teams are in winning record contention, I think that it goes both ways. I think we'll do the AFC West and
because the Broncos just made a trade while we're recording too, by the way.
Ooh,
Devon Bailey is a new one Saint.
That was the
guy
that they traded him. The fact that they traded him the week before the preseason game, so that means that New Orleans definitely wanted him. What was he traded for?
A 4th round and a 6th round pick, which is actually, I mean, a great return for a 7th round pick. And a guy you're going to get cut. He
probably was because of the way that Troy Franklin played.
Yeah, the way Troy Franklin was playing, and also Patrick Bryant.
And Sherfield.
Sherfield
too.
So
you had way too many people pop in the receiver room, and he unfortunately had the injury at the beginning of camp.
Yeah, I think that too. And with this Broncos team, and obviously we'll get to the West maybe next week or the week after, or maybe we'll
get to it next week. We'll do the AFC West next week.
Like with the AFC West, I lost my train of thought. The Broncos are in a situation where they play the first 2 games against Cam Ward, Deion Jones.
Yeah, you're welcome.
2 of the most.
You get the easiest runway into that big Monday Night Football game.
2 of the most winnable games on the schedule.
Yes.
Are the beginning of your season. Anything worse than 2-0 going into or playing Cincinnati is a travesty. Is all I'll say. You are, and I hate to do this by week 3 because I think it's asinine to do this. But like, if you lose one of Indianapolis and Tennessee, or frankly lose both of them, Cincinnati is a must-win game if you want to keep pace in the AFC to make playoffs.
Oh, trust me. If you start 1-4, it ain't a picnic getting back into the playoff. Just in the playoff race, it ain't a picnic getting back there. We did that last year. The Bengals going into that matchup will be playing the Browns, the Jags, and the Vikings before that Week 4 matchup on Monday night against Denver. I'm going to be there in person. I think I'm taking Carly to her first NFL game, so we'll be in our seats. And I will be repping the hostile colors because I did it last time and I saw him win. I've only ever seen them win in person 1 time. That's the really, really sad part of my existence. I've been a fan for as long as I have. I've been to a ton of Bengals games because the Bengals always come to Denver. They never go to Cincinnati. And I've only seen them win once. I've seen them winning quite a bit. Like, they're always winning the game. The worst one, and we can wrap up the preview and get into our top 5 because we are running up close to my time limit. But we were on the game at Christmas playing against the Broncos, and we were kicking a field goal to go up or to solidify the fact that we were going to win. And the long snapper got the snap off. The holder tried to put the ball down, and it was in the middle of a blizzard, and the ball slipped out. We missed the field goal as my dad and I were walking back to the cars because it was a blizzard and it was cold. My dad's like, they just lost. They didn't even kick the field goal. It didn't even get put down. I was like, great. This is awesome. I'm having so much fun.
Oh, I mean, you want to go back down memory lane and talk about Brandon Stokely on the edge there.
That one was at least I had to watch that one on TV, but we were still. I remember the Mexican restaurant we were watching that game on, and I was like, "Yes, we scored a touchdown. We're the only team to score a touchdown in this game. Why is he tipping that pass up? Why is there nobody around Brandon Stokely?
Why is Stokely going scot-free 80 yards down the field?
Brandon Stokely down the sideline."
Oh, even and and Gus Johnson on the call makes it so much better too.
Oh, it's ingrained right here. It's the source of the aneurysm in my left temple. My right temple it's still developing. It's still forming. Let's get into our top 5. And you came up with the topic for this one. So top 5 superheroes that we would put on our team.
Like I said, movie seasons, basically summer blockbusters are ending and football season starting. So I think this is a great way for us to throw superheroes and where we'd put them on the team. And I saw a couple rankings of these, and I thought it'd be fun for us to do because I know you're a DC nerd and MCU nerd, and so am I. And DC, and obviously we talked about Superman, talked about Fantastic Four. So let's get into my top 5. Number 5, I know you put him in a different position. I want to explain where I put him here. I put Superman in middle linebacker at number 5. Why do I have Superman in middle linebacker? One, he sees everything. His instincts are very, very good as well. I think he fits perfectly when it comes to middle linebacker position. A guy that's downhill, knock dudes out. A guy that has a closing speed on a running back when it comes to the edge, right?
You tell me Travis Kelce's going to be open in the middle of the field with Superman and middle linebacker.
Exactly. A guy that is a leader as well out there that has led the Justice League and led different things. I think he's the perfect middle linebacker. I would love to hear why you put him at your position, why you did, and here in a second, but that's why I have a middle linebacker. Number 4, I think this is the most perfect. This is the most Aaron Donald position ever. Put the Hulk at defensive tackle, and just have him go through the middle of the line and wreak havoc every play.
Smash,
Hulk smash. I think this may be the most OP one here. I'm dead serious because I was trying to think of different ways of where to put the Hulk. I was thinking, do I put him offensive line? And I was like, well, he can't really control his anger. So I was like, well, if I can control him from crossing a line, maybe that's a lot easier. So I'll put him at D tackle. There is not a single offensive lineman out there that would be able to control 5 offensive linemen. You'd have to put 5 offensive line on him. He'd be able to disrupt every pass. Didn't matter who you put at quarterback. He would be able to demolish him every play. So Hulk at D tackle. Number 3, Spidey is at corner. Talk about sticky hands.
That one was new. I had not heard of that one before.
Spider-Man at cornerback with the sticky hands, the web shooting. He'd be able to use the web shooters above in the stadium to get the ball out of the air, snatch the ball out of the air, be able to be fast and keep up with guys, even if he got beat. The ball's in the air, pew, ball in his hand, corner. We have pick 6 going the other way. So Spider-Man at corner, I think that's a great number 3, a very slept on number 3. Number 2. Hawkeye quarterback. I put a Hawkeye because I'm an MCU guy, and
we have the same idea.
Same idea. But Hawkeye, famously, I can't remember which Avengers movie he said this in. They said that in one of the Avengers movie. He said, I tried golf in my free time. I played 18. I shot 18. He didn't miss. Literally, he just kept throwing darts. So you're telling me Hawkeye at quarterback just dart, throwing the ball, I think would be like talk about accuracy quarterback. I don't think he's the most OP person here because I think you'd have to have a lot of other things going on for you to help. But his accuracy would be huge in number 2. Number 1, I've been going on an X-Men phase right now where I've been watching all the old X-Men movies and obviously watch X-Men 97 and watch the old X-Men cartoon show too. I put Wolverine at running back. There's a couple things here. For those that have seen the comic book movies, Wolverine is a fast dude. Very, very fast. Goes on 4 legs. 4 arms. 4 limbs. Sorry, not 4 legs. 4 arms. 4 limbs. Running across. He is very, very tough to take down also. You look at his movies, right?
Low center of gravity.
A guy that at the running back position, you may be able to stop him, his forward momentum, but you won't be able to get him down. He'll carry you on his back. And if you injure him, he'll regenerate. So you can give him the ball 300 times a game. And say, run.
He's got his own Vicodin needle in his blood.
That is all of this is fair game. You give him the ball downfield, downhill, and just give it to him every single time. Imagine Derrick Henry, but shorter with long hair and obviously claws coming out of him. That's what the Wolverine would be at running back. And you give him the ball 300 times a game, you don't even have to throw the ball. You don't. You just have it halfway decent offensive line, and he will run through anybody on the opposite side of the line. So that's my top 5 superheroes that in NFL positions that I think would succeed in the NFL. I'll give you a couple that I completely disregarded here in a sec after your list because there's a couple out there that I was like, I don't even want a piece of that.
Yeah, I have a few. If I was going to put a Marvel person in there, he would have been my honorable mention for offensive line. It was going to be the Thing because I think the Thing could be a guard, a center, a tackle. I also thought of Mr. Fantastic because of the fact that he could put himself like, okay, you're a guard, so you're going to be a little bit heavier. Make sure you can still move. Okay, now you're a tackle.
Stretchy enough, so he could be a right tackle and reach out far enough.
Just set the edge all the way at the sideline.
But the problem is with those long arms, though, like he may be called for a holding call a lot easier with the outside. Like a good pass rush should get around him, and then his arms around him because it stretches around him, and then it's a holding penalty. So
they not got to grab and twist. Grab the arm and twist.
I didn't want to touch because of that.
Yeah. I'll go 5-1. I didn't necessarily put them in like what I think would be the best ones, but these are just people that popped into my head in the positions that they would play. Flash, when I had the Flash in my video games, he would be a corner or a safety because that speed on defense is really, really fun. And then you also put him back at punt returner and you just go and you're gone. But I think at running back, I'm picturing like it's Jahmyr Gibbs. Now that we've seen Jahmyr Gibbs, the speed at which you can get through the hole can actually give you a few extra yards. The Flash will be 5, 10, 15 yards down the field before anybody else can react because he's the fastest man alive. So I put the Flash, and I'm just going to be running dives, counters. I'm going to use my offensive line's angles, but a little bit of a crease. Give me 16 inches of daylight, and the Flash is gone, taking it to the house. I put Superman at receiver. It was going to be tight end, but I chose a different one for tight end. I put him at receiver because I think the calming presence of the leadership at that receiver position. I think of a guy
fly out to catch the ball.
Yeah, I mean that was the other thing. It was going to be. I was like, should I put Flash at receiver or Superman at receiver? And I went, wait a second, Jimmy. One of them can fly. The other one is just really fast. And okay, yeah, that makes more sense. Also, like I was thinking. Speaking of Vele, the receiver that you're going to motion into the formation when you want to run.
Superman.
You're gonna take a crack block by Superman
or jet sweep to him.
Jet sweep. Yeah. But you're gonna take a crack block from Superman. Your defensive Von Miller's going night.
Everyone's going night.
I have
Hulk
Batman.
is going night.
Yeah, Hulk will be going night too. I have Batman at middle linebacker.
I want to see why you put him here because Batman was a guy that I was like I didn't want to touch because obviously he's great in combat, but he doesn't have any special powers, and he's a guy that's smart and witty and frankly could be a locker room problem. The streets are talking because you don't know who he is.
You have to have a few of these people though. You have to have a few of these people with the dark history. He clearly, if you can convince him that your team's mission is important enough, like Justice in Gotham. He's singularly focused. He's almost autistic in the way that he's going to get after his goal and he's going to complete his goal. So I could use the mental.
We're going to take this a step forward. What Batman?
Talking
about Pattinson, Batfleck. We talking about Bale. We talking about George Clooney. What are we thinking here?
I think it's going to be Bale. I think it's going to be Bale. If you know about the comics, Batman is a normal person, but he is also at the physical peak. That's how DC writes their like normal vigilantes, the physical peak of humanity. So he is really strong compared to normal people. He just not strong or anything. It's like when you're walking around in a locker room and then you walk around in the real world and you're like, oh, not everybody is 6'5". That makes a little bit more sense.
I would say,
but it's the strategy.
I think Batfleck would have been a better middle linebacker because he has the size and he looks.
It's the size, but I don't like his battle tactics as much as I like Bale's. I put Bale at middle linebacker as the green dot, and whatever formation he sees, he's making the adjustments. He's moving the coverage. He's telling the safety, "You're over here." And again, you're putting him in the middle of the field. You take out the receiving threat of the tight end, the running back, anything in the slot. And move him out like he's going to stay on the field all 4 downs. If there's 4 downs in the play, he can play in the big formations. He can shoot the gaps. He knows where you're going to attack, and he'll put guys in the right spot. So I like his mental side at the middle linebacker position. It was going to be on. I also had thought of him at quarterback, but I have a preference of which billionaire vigilante I like best out of DC. Cyborg at tight end. Cyborg in the comics was a quarterback, Victor Stone, and I'd already chosen my quarterback at Green Arrow, so I made an exception. But I think Cyborg at tight end, when he's the robot version of himself, big guy. Like it's like a mixture of Antonio Gates and George Kittle. Like the ability to jump up and go after those athletic plays, but when you put him on the line, he's going to laugh at your ass as he's blocking you all the way through the end zone.
And he's got the strength too to be a good edge blocker to get.
I'm running. Give me flash, running stretch behind Cyborg. I'm taking those.
He's strong enough to win those one-on-one catches over the middle. I think the worry about him is the speed in terms of be able to beat guys off.
And we know that the NFL players like to aim low, and the robotic legs might break. I can't remember what the medal is.
The strength and I know you like your tight ends be able to block downfield, and that's what Cyborg will do every single time.
Yeah. I'm now picturing a toss crack where Superman is motioning in from the edge, Cyborg is the tight end, and I don't know who's at guard, but whoever is at guard, just make sure you get around that crack block. Whoever Superman decapitates, you're going to block the next guy that you see, and then Flash will be around behind you, and we'll be in the end zone. Green Arrow at quarterback. If you know Oliver Queen, and it is the one from the CW TV show, so Stephen Amell, if you're a old Cody Rhodes fan when he was Stardust, that's the TV star that Cody Rhodes wrestled. He's also in a TV show called Heels where he is a professional wrestler. It's pretty good. I would recommend it. I've checked it out before. The tactics, and it's the confidence, the swagger. We talked about Baker Mayfield earlier. Oliver Queen has the same dangerousness as a Baker Mayfield because he was not a good person until he got abandoned on the island when his dad was killed by his business partner. He was trained on the island to be a master assassin with the bow and arrow. He comes back and he has that now confidence of the former Oliver Queen with the smarts and the wit that he learned on the island. I think that he's the best of both worlds as a leader. I think that he could be a leader of men.
I think that's a very, very, very good list. What I want you to do, if we put all my team together, your team together, and everybody else on the team is a 75 generic overall player.
Okay.
In general. And we'll put it in the comments, comment on the video. Who would win, my team or Jimmy's team? You can put them up side to side and put the post together. And when everything goes live, we'll see what everyone thinks. Like I said, rosters how they are with our superpowers. Everyone else generic 75. That means I don't have a receiver that's above a 75 or an offense. Neither of us have an offensive lineman above a 75.
No.
Jimmy has one defender and Superman. I have
one defender at Batman.
Oh, sorry, that's right.
Our middle linebacker is going to be. You have the better middle linebacker.
I have the
better corner.
You have
the way better defense. Yeah,
you have a way better offense.
It's going to be a slugfest.
I'm saying it's about 50-50. So
I think my little middle linebacker with your running back. I think when Batman meets Wolverine in the hole.
I don't know Wolverine downhill.
Here's the thing: as strong as I just said, Batman was. I don't think that he can take down a rabid animal running with the football. That's
true. And the one thing I also got going for me, 75 overall generic offensive line is not stopping the Hulk. And we'll see if Green Arrow can get the ball off.
Can we put in one honorable mention? Because you said you had an honorable mention. Yeah. So I'll put Thing at my guard spot. So Hulk and Thing can battle it out on the interior. You're going to win some. I'm going to win some. But I think that makes it a little bit more fair. You have a great secondary and defense because I have actually Superman versus Spider-Man is a hell of a matchup on the outside.
That's a great matchup.
So I added my honorable mention. Who are you adding?
You ready for my receiver?
Yeah.
This is for comic book nerds out there. Nightcrawler.
Yeah,
Nightcrawler transports himself to the end zone. He transports himself past the entire defense. Green Arrow or Hawkeye lobs the ball up and we got a touchdown.
I don't have a corner or safety.
Superman's going to have to guard him on the outside.
Uh-oh.
Superman's going to have to guard him on the outside. So that's my – so add in Nightcrawler for me at receiver and you add in the Thing at your offensive line.
Now that you can score, I don't have a defense.
That's fair. Also,
I'm the Bengals. You know what I am? I'm the Bengals.
You should have put it. I would, if I were you, I'd take the Thing out and put a defender on there because the Hulk can be negated by the Flash if he goes around him. That's what I mean. That's what you got. They say you might need another defender.
Who? Okay, so then I'm gonna go with a safety, and I'll go Marvel. This one will be. You'll be proud of me for this one. I'm gonna put Moon Knight at safety. Because I think I'm thinking of he played who was the guy that played for Philly and then Denver.
Dawkins,
the Weapon X. He's a little bit crazy. And Moonlight is schizophrenic.
So many different personalities.
He's three different personalities rolled into one, and he's the deity of the moon. He's a god.
Yeah.
I'll keep him at safety. So yes, you might get through.
Is as even.
You might get past Batman, but Moon Knight's behind him as the extra.
Yeah.
Yeah,
to stop Nightcrawler and stop Wolverine. I think this is. I mean, like I said, I'll be fair. I have seen like other shows or like other comic book shows talk about this. So like I kind of got an inkling of where things I would put people, and I kind of spun this on you today and let you figure it out from there. But I think both teams would be goated.
And you might have given me another idea for my PlayStation 5 because I'm guaranteeing you there's these characters that have been made. I can put everything else at even teams. Yeah. We can have this go on the YouTube channel. So we'll have the people vote on our X so that people start following us on X at FAOTB Pod. And then we'll see about making this virtual reality come to pass where Nico's playing with his team. I'm playing with my team. And then we can put it out on our channel.
I would love to see what traits would be like goated. Obviously, like Hawkeye and Green Arrow would accuracy be nuts. Yeah. Their power wouldn't be as good though. Obviously, their injury. They're a little bit. They're smaller dudes, so yeah. a little bit more wear and tear.
And I feel like there's more awareness. Like Hawkeye is very good, but Hawkeye was never like. I don't know what his pre-planning is. Green Arrow will pre-plan like Vietnam level booby traps. So I feel like there might be just a slight bit of maybe Green Arrow is not as accurate, but the awareness is a little bit higher on his end. So we can figure out ways to balance it out. Maybe instead of finding the characters online, maybe I go through because I will have time at some point when I
create attributes.
It might be a fun little side project. Let's finish up segments because I got to run out to football practice once we're done here. Player of the week. I told you I punted on this one, so you gave me yours, and then you came up with another one. I did watch, yes, Hamzat. I wanted it to be another way, but I tried to tell people, I don't like the way that they wrestle, but if you can't stop it, you're not beating them.
No, you are not. They took him down in the first 15 seconds of every round.
I know, and I listened to DDP. I said I listened to him talk about it, and it's like I'm going to be able to punch him in the face. You can't punch him in the face when he's hanging on your legs.
Exactly. See how much damage is on his face? Oh, that's right, none. Because he didn't do anything.
He didn't get touched until the very end of the fight.
He won every single round. The scorecards were 50-44, 50-44, 50-45. Two judges had a 10-8 round.
Yeah.
Like, that's how bad it was for DDP against Hamzat. And obviously, we've talked about Hamzat being a world champion level player or a fighter. And obviously, he showed this weekend. But he is not the player of the week. Because no one does it like Jimmy Polano. Ran a full mile in a suit. And ran it in 10 minutes in 90+ degree weather. If you are a listener to the show and you think you can do better than that, I dare you to film yourself and show it to me.
And tag us. Make sure you tag us when you post it.
I dare you. Do it. Make sure it's a 90-degree day. Make sure the track is black. Because it'll get a lot hotter on a black track. Make sure.
And I know Nico's in this content game with me, but Nico's also the commissioner of the league. So if you think that he let me have any out, no, I was running the full mile. I was in the first track, first lane. I stayed in the lane. If I wasn't able to just, okay, we'll film this part. Take a couple minutes. We'll film the next part. He wasn't a director. He was a documentarian. That's what he was.
I was the guy for the league that made sure Jimmy followed through and didn't have to also film himself while dying of heat.
I felt like I was back in college running my conditioning test. Nico
was
the GA screaming, "Get going! Come on, keep moving!
Legs feed the wolf! Legs feed the
wolf!" Benchwarmer of the week.
Benchwarmer of the week. I came up with both of these because I don't know if Jimmy knows both stories.
Oh yeah, I listened to the Auburn one this morning, so I can talk about that one.
Anthony Richardson lost his starting job. I don't know if the benchwarmer of the week should be Anthony Richardson or the Indianapolis Colts because I think both are at fault here. One, the guy has not played football. We've said it going to last year's draft. He did not play. You need
this
to
was
get
our most viral clip last season when I said that he wasn't good.
Yeah, and it worked. It turned out to be perfect.
I was fucking right.
You were fucking A, Jimmy. You're right. You son of a bitch. I got something right. Yeah. And he is not. And look. I think he's better than Daniel Jones, though. I think he has more talent than Daniel Jones. I think Shane Steichen is in the belief that Daniel Jones won't make as many mistakes, which if you watch him in preseason, he'll make as many mistakes and probably be a lot worse. You can't. Jim Irsay, the late great, rest in peace, said before they drafted Anthony Richardson, I've seen what the next wave of quarterback will be. Is Anthony Richardson. Then you proceed to not play him. And like halfway through his first year, to not play him at all. Because wasn't Flacco the starter last year? I think Flacco was the starter last year.
Flacco, he wasn't the full-time starter, but remember when we had the whole tap in the helmet.
Tap in the head, the whole thing, that was him.
And then he did get benched for performance like I predicted he would by the 8th week of the season.
Exactly. So that happened. And then you bring in Daniel Jones. If the Colts were not sold on Anthony Richardson to start, let's just bring it out there. Why would you not have considered Shedeur Sanders? Right? Like Daniel Jones, you've seen what the best Daniel Jones will be. And it was his first year where he was running 40-yard sprints on option plays. And then he was a horrible accuracy thrower. And you thought, you know what? That's going to save my job. We'll make
what else? You know what else might play a factor into this? They might see Jonathan Taylor as good as Saquon Barkley, because that was the last time that Daniel Jones, that was the backfield that he had, was Saquon at running back.
Jonathan Taylor is talented. I would say the Colts offensive line is far worse than the Eagles offensive line is the problem.
They had too many guys get banged up and retired. Kind of similar to their quarterback, because if they would have protected Andrew Luck, he would still be. He came out and said multiple times he was planning to play until he was 40. And the fact that he retired at 31, middle of a preseason game, it's still the same thing. And I'm not going to.
That was before the show, right? That was 2019.
That was before the show. Yeah, I was still in college. I think I talked about that in college on the radio. We were all like, "Oh my God, he did what?"
What a wild sequence it's been for Indianapolis since they got rid of Peyton. Yeah. Because let's not forget, they got rid of Peyton. They got rid of him.
They got rid of him for the next guy. That was the next.
Which also they didn't have on their roster until the next year, because they were one of the worst teams in football the next year after they released Peyton Manning for obvious reasons.
They coined the term "suck for luck."
Exactly. Kerry Collins was the starting quarterback. Yes, if you don't know that name, learn ball, kid. Like that, and then they lucked out, no pun intended, and got Andrew Luck. And then they decide, you know what we did for Peyton? Let's not do it for Andrew Luck. Let's not give him an
offensive Jeff line. Saturday at center and all-pro guards and tackles all over.
Dallas Clark type of tight end. Let's not. Let the best talent we'll ever give Andrew Luck is T.Y. Hilton. That's what we'll do. Not Marvin Harris or Reggie White. Let's not do that. No.
We don't need to go to the U. We don't need to get the best college receiver in here. Andrew Luck will make him into the number one. It's funny that Auburn is doing this now, because Auburn is the team that UCF beat the year that UCF likes to claim their national title. It's gotten bad. I think that maybe that guy put more than poison just in Toomer's trees, because if you're coming out now as a fan base, and I know how ruthless these college football fan message boards get, like I don't know how that's your go-to strategy. That's not offensive. That's not defensive. Like, you're giving everybody else ammunition to dunk on. Vanderbilt's sitting there looking at you like, what are you doing? Like, take your foot out of your mouth. It's disgusting. Why are you doing that? Like, no, you haven't won a national title since Cam Newton.
No, but you did. They claimed, look at the years. They claimed 2004, which was for those that aren't knowledgeable, that was the USC year where it was rescinded because of Reggie Bush. Which, by the way, basically the SEC has already said they paid them as much money as anybody else. So it's not like Auburn wasn't paying anybody.
They already came back and reinstated that. They gave Reggie Bush all of his records back. So, yeah, they're national champions.
They weren't in the national championship game. They were undefeated, and they didn't make the national championship game, so they claimed it to be their national championship, I guess. The next three were like during World War I and World War II.
Hey, if you can't play the championship, we never know who would have really won it.
That's just
That's like
you know who's laughing?
That's Duquesne claiming the 2020 championship in basketball that got canceled.
I mean, you know who's laughing their asses off is Alabama. Alabama's like, you're this poor in terms of national.
It's not lessening the hate, because again, we don't understand these Southern football rivalries. Alabama still is going to put every ounce of their hate into Auburn, but now when they win, that's all you're going to hear. Like, they're just filing this. They're going to talk shit about it now because it's hilarious.
They'll have shirts that says "Real National Champs." And on that's what
not just real national champs, Nico. If they win it again, it would be 8-time or 9-time real national champs.
Since in that span of Auburn winning one, by the way.
Yeah. They can probably claim one of the years that Auburn did, because Bear Bryant was probably doing stuff around there. But this is sad. I don't even really know. When I thought that Pardon My Take was making it up when I was listening to on my planning period this morning.
Well, I saw it on TikTok feed. I was like, this is a parody account. And then I saw it on Twitter, and I was like, I'm sorry. They did
because did you see Ryan Harris got with a parody account over the weekend on the Broncos preseason because there's a fake Micah Parsons tweet going around that says Denver is his dream team. He never actually said that. I don't think that he'd be opposed if the situation worked out.
I think I also said that last week, by the way. So I also got, but yes, it happens.
You don't have the fact checking team. You have me as your fact checking team behind you. Ryan Harris had 9 News, which is like the most trusted news source here in the metro area.
Out by Fox Sports, by the way. So we'll see what NBC and all that looks like for NFL ratings down the road. I saw that, by the way. We'll see. That's not for a couple of years, but that's something we'll see if that affects anything.
Last thing before we all get out of here and go on to the rest of the weekend, or play of the week. What do you have for play of the week? I was gonna say
Jimmy running around in a mile. Jimmy running around a mile in a suit. There's your play of the week. I'm sorry. PLL didn't play this weekend. You and I both know I don't watch baseball. Okay, so the Rockies won 5 out of the last 7. So so I guess that's got that going for them. So there's your baseball talk for the summer.
I'll say so. You remember the hit that back when we were in 8th grade, and I know if you're listening this far, you already like us enough that you're a diehard of the show. So we'll go back into some of the youth football stories. You remember when we played Broomfield and the game ended because Brownie knocked the kid out on one of the kickoffs?
Oh yeah, I remember.
I witnessed on Saturday. So we are huge compared to the teams that we play, and we have this guy that literally is just go straight and run through wall. Okay, coach, and he knocked out the guy blocking him, and then hit the guy running the ball harder than I remember Brownie hitting that kid to where we had to call the ambulance out to the field to get him off. Like, I have no idea how the kid got up. He never came back into the game. I don't think he's ever playing football again. He probably looked at his parents right after that moment, and he was
it's time to play
basketball season.
I think basketball, baseball, lacrosse, wrestling, maybe. Let's do something else.
I might pick up freaking boxing, and I'll get hit less hard than that. Let's get out of here. I think I'm good. Shout out to my Box State Bruins. I'm enjoying the 8th grade season. I can't believe it's the last time that I'm coaching these boys before they go high school. That's
crazy to think about. Absolutely crazy to think about.
Anything else before we send people off for the good of their weekend? Woods.
Roll Woods. Game on Saturday is all. I think we're on ESPN too. I think we're
I think both games are. Yeah. Both games are going to be on ESPN Plus, and the second game is on ESPN.
Like I said, tune in. It's sold out. Like I have unfortunately, I apologize for parts of the college football show. The ticketing deadline was during our show, and of course, my players decided to text me right as the ticketing deadline was closing for tickets, and tickets are sold out. So that's why I had to deal with that during parts of the college football show while I was lost. So, like I said, it's going to be a sold out venue. Minnie's awesome. It's beautiful weather. Food's great. Facilities are awesome. We're not there while the Vikings are there, though, because Vikings have preseason on Friday. So a preseason game on Friday. I don't know where they are, but they're not in Minnesota. So they won't be around. Maybe Jay Jettas makes an appearance. Ooh. That'd be sick on Saturday. I don't think he will, but probably more likely get like Anthony Barr or something like that, or Harrison Smith. That's probably a better shot because they probably know more about lacrosse than Jay Jettas. But I'm excited. It's gonna be a fun weekend. I'm nervous as heck, but Minnesota is one of my favorite places to go to, and why not win or go home? So we'll see.
It's playoff time in lacrosse. Rise of the Roadrunners, episode 4. We will be hosting the Colorado State University Rams. Actually, we're going to Fort Collins. I wrote a blog about it on feotbpod.org. Check all that stuff out. Make sure you subscribe, follow. For myself, Jimmy Pilato, my co-host Nico Bryant, episode 244 of the Far End of the Bench podcast. We will see you guys next time.
Peace.
If you don't stay down and you never quit, come on over here and sit on the far end of the bench.